The story begins with a man named Max, who is seated in a psychologist's office. Max tells his psychologist that he hopes he could just be a normal person, but it is unlikely. As a result, Max must explain that he was born with an extremely unique ability. Max was born with a condition that causes people to die as soon as they see his face. People can die instantaneously when they see him because he is so gorgeous. This is not, however, a horrible death. Rather, it is a happy and pleasurable tragedy. A flashback occurred to the time Max was born. There, he killed the hospital's nurses and doctor, who had seen his face from the moment he was born. His face is so attractive that it triggers a surge in hormones that causes a person's life to be cut short. This is why Max's family had to relocate to a small town. They took numerous precautions to safeguard Max and others from him. They also determined that Max would be homeschooled in order to protect him and the other children. However, this makes Max terribly lonely. The only individuals who are unaffected are Max's parents, who can stare at their son's face without jeopardizing their lives. Max's story does not convince the psychologist, so he asks him to remove his sunglasses and the bandages that cover his entire face to prevent people from seeing him. Max caves in and does as he's ordered. He removes his sunglasses and bandages, and the psychologist dies a few seconds later. Max's parents are seen in the waiting room, and when they hear a peculiar commotion, they rush into the psychologist's office, where they discover Max re-bandaging his wounds, as well as the psychologist's death. When the police arrive, they're suspicious of Max because he's always present when someone dies, but Max manages to get out of it without too much problems in the end. While Max's parents are speaking with the police, he notices a brick and picks it up, carrying it with him. Max asks a friend, Matt, to beat him with a brick at home. They've evidently attempted this with a hammer before. It's something Max tries to do to destroy his face, to stop his curse of causing others to die when they see his beautiful face. Because Matt is preoccupied with his phone, Max throws it away, allowing his friend to attack him. As a result, Max must accompany his mother to the hospital. After that, we join Max and his father to the grocery. In addition, we find that Max owns a cat, who, unfortunately, is yet another victim of Max's powers. When the cat sees his beautiful owner without his mask on, he dies instantly. Next, we meet Dan, Max's friend. This friend is used to going on dates with girls he finds online. Dan notices that his pal Max is sad, so he tries to cheer him up by setting him up on a date, which is how Max ends up on a blind date with a girl he has never met before. The girl appears to be uneasy and skeptical of Max's appearance at first. In order to break the ice, Max tries to flatter and flirt with her by giving her a tiny present. His efforts, however, appear ineffective, and the girl appears uninterested. The girl's ex-boyfriend then appears. He has the appearance of being a tough, threatening, and aggressive individual. He joins Max and his date at the table and begins making fun of Max's appearance. When Matt spills their drinks on the table, this vicious man tries to wipe it clean with Max's face. As a result, Max is humiliated in front of everyone. To make matters worse, the girl rejects Max, who then asks her if they may see each other again when they leave. But she refuses, and all of this upsets Max to the point where he walks to a bridge and appears to want to jump off of it. But, just as he is about to leap, a girl walks by and manages to persuade him otherwise. This girl's name is Alex, and the two of them strike up a conversation in which Max reveals his issues. Alex then brings Max to an elderly care center, where she praises the importance of life. There, Max meets a group of two people, both of them are elderly. They enjoy their time together, but one of them has Alzheimer's disease and the other has a terminal illness. Alex, like Max, has a unique condition that causes her to be unable to sense emotions. Max and Alex have something in common because she has a cold mind and heart, which prevents her from establishing friends. Max and Alex are having fun together, and afterwards Max walks Alex to her place. He then asks if they can see each other again, if they can hang together. Max is devastated when she rejects him and says no. On a different day, he's hanging out with a friend, and he tells him everything about Alex and how much he wants to see her again. Max's friends advise that he try to find her again, and he suggests that he return to the location where they first met. Max takes his friend's advice and returns to the bus stop where he last saw Alex. He sees her again, and this is how he persuades her to go out with him once more. On this particular occasion, Max and Alex visit a store to get a large quantity of candy, as he remarked that he has always wanted to swim in them. As a result, they fill the tub in Max's bathroom with it, and Max and Alex begin to bond, enjoying a particular connection, and begin to hang out together. When the two of them go to see a movie and become wasted, Alex walks Max back to his place that night. Alex requests an embroidery from Max. Max is terrified that she would die if she approaches him and removes his dark shades from his face, but nothing occurs, nothing at all, and Alex is still alive. Apparently, people must see his complete face to die. When they return to Max's house, they begin kissing, but are interrupted by Max's parents, who are thrilled to see their son finally have a girl, and who also said that they would welcome an exchange student female to stay at their house, so they introduce everyone. The group goes out the next day, but the exchange student girl walks away, presumably because she no longer wants to hang out with him, and she leaves with another female on the way there. There's also a minor issue. Alex is injured, and she scratches herself with a branch. Max treats her by bandaging her wound with a piece of the bandages that covers his face. Alex has to keep an eye on her heart to keep it in check, but she is starting to feel things. She adds she'd like to see Max's face at night, and they converse for long before Alex kisses him. They subsequently learn that one of the old ladies in the care home, the one who has a terminal condition, is dying. Max goes to see her, and the woman is in a lot of pain. She urges Max to remove his mask and glasses and look at her, since this would relieve her suffering. At first, Max refuses, but after some consideration, they agree. Max removes his sunglasses and the bandages that usually hide his face and stares at her, which, of course, kills the elderly lady. She does, however, die happy and at peace, no longer suffering. Max and Alex begin an extremely emotional relationship at this time, and they appear to be in love with each other. Other than that, Max is overjoyed to finally have someone who understands and loves him. Max's parents are overjoyed as well, as they are relieved to discover that their son now has a girlfriend. However, things begin to change when Alex goes missing and Max is unable to locate her. He sends her text messages but receives no response. When he eventually gets a chance to speak with Alex, she makes up an excuse, claiming that her mother stopped her from going out. We found out a few days later that there will be a party. Max is too afraid to invite Alex, but his friend Dan assists him. Dan persuades Max to be bold enough to invite Alex to the party, and Max texts Alex to invite her. But, once again, she does not respond. Max decides to go to her house and ask her in person this time. There, he finally gets to speak with her, and Alex says that her heart continues to grow larger and larger, requiring them to increase her medication. However, after speaking with each other, Alex agrees to attend the party with Max. Everything is excellent at the beginning of the party. The party is entertaining, vibrant, and thrilling. Max and Alex are having a great time together. They dance, speak, and flirt, and then they begin dancing together. The music changes, and the new song is very romantic, so Max and Alex have a very passionate and tense moment. However, this causes Alex's heart to race dangerously quickly. It causes her nose to bleed, which she considers to be a very horrible thing, so she goes away. At the party, issues persist. Max is angry about Alex's departure, and his best friend, Dan, is present. As a result, Dan tries to support and cheer up Max. However, the aggressive character from the beginning of the film reappears. He also happens to be Dan's ex-girlfriend. He attempts to cause problems, is rude, and annoys others. This man continues bugging Max again, making fun of his mask, and he's really pushy. Finally, this man tears Max's mask off his face, forcing Max to show his face to Dan's girlfriend. Unfortunately, this means that the girl will die right away. This is a really unpleasant position because Max has been arrested for the death of this girl. The cops arrive and arrest him. On top of that, there's Alex, who Max notices arriving in an ambulance and is taken away. Max is arrested and taken to the police station, where he appears to be in serious trouble. Fortunately, Max manages to get out of it, and he is allowed to leave prison. Max is now free, but he is in a lot of difficulty. Max's parents are revealed to be quite concerned about their son, who is depressed at this time. He's fed up with his power causing others to die simply by glancing at him, and he decides to do something about it. As a result, Max picks up a brick and begins to smack himself in the face with it. He wants to disfigure his face so he won't be able to kill anyone else. His parents, however, intervene before he is seriously injured and attempt to calm him. They hug, and it's a very emotional moment for them. The next day, Max finally gets to see Alex, and discovers that he has been lying the entire time. She had been downplaying her condition. Everything she had said up to this point had been a deception. Her condition was far more serious than she had made it appear. Alex, it turns out, is also suffering from a deadly illness. This gives Max a genuine feeling about everything. Then Alex begs Max if he would do for her what he did for the old woman, which involves removing the mask to reveal her face and allowing her to die painlessly. Max first refuses, stating that he does not want to be the cause of her death. As a result, Max doesn't pay another visit to Alex for a few days. Meanwhile, Max attends the funeral of Dan's girlfriend, whom he killed. There, the two best friends are having an important discussion. Dan tries to reason with Max and helps him comprehend Alex's circumstance and point of view after Max tells him everything about him. Dan clarifies that none of this is his fault, and that Max should go see her because she is dying. His statements appear to have the desired impact on Max, who begins to consider the problem and understands that he should go see Alex. Max pays a visit to Alex in the hospital the next day. There, the two of them had an emotional confrontation. They ultimately disclose to one another that they have affections for each other. But ultimately, everything comes to an end when Max removes his bandages from his face and lies down on the bed alongside Alex. The two of them close their eyes and Max leans in forward and kisses Alex. When Max opens his eyes, Alex also opens her eyes and stares at him. She appears to be resistant to his horrific powers at first, but then she becomes so delighted to see him that she begins to smile, which causes her heart to malfunction, and she eventually dies. Max is crushed by the loss, as evidenced by his attendance at her funeral, and he must deal with his grief. Following the funeral, we see him at the bridge where the two of them first met, at the spot where he had intended to end his life, but this time, Max is holding an envelope with the name Alex written on it. Max stuffs the jello he talked about with Alex inside the envelope and throws it into the river. However, after some time has passed, it appears that Max is beginning to recover, and he has resumed his visits to psychologists. Max begins to share his life, his entire story. He explains that he doesn't feel as bad as he did before Alex, and that he hasn't been found guilty of the other girl's death. He begins to accept himself and his situation, as well as how to deal with it. Even his parents come to a better understanding. Everything appears to be improving for Max until he receives a letter. Many people learned about his power, about how he can kill someone only by allowing them to look at his face without causing any pain, through a series of letters. So all of these individuals seek out to Max for assistance, asking him to assist dying patients so that they can stop suffering and die peacefully. He also continues to socialize with Esther, one of the older ladies from the nursing facility. Finally, Max realizes that true love is the ability to withstand seeing his face. This is why he can hang out with his best friend and have happiness. Without the bandages on his face, that genuinely loves him. However, there is another scenario in which the rude guy knocks on Max's door suddenly and opens it without covering his face, killing the other man immediately. That's how the movie finishes. What were your thoughts about it? What would you have done if you had fell in love with Max? What are your feelings on Max and Alex's relationship, and do you believe you can love someone without ever meeting them? How would you have approached Max's issue? This was a review of the movie, Looks That Kill.